They couldn't have planned this any better, as Sidney Crosby once again making history with a familiar face to Penguins fans. We're going to break that down, as well as this year's NHL draft lottery and why Penguins fans should be absolutely fired up about the lottery and why the Penguins actually have a better shot at the first overall pick than fans realize. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's free. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, and again, you get to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Penguins. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. Sidney Crosby, once again, making history. His season wrapped up, but it's not quite done yet. He's heading over to the IIHF Men's World Hockey Championships, which he's done a numerous amount of times in his NHL career. And he might be joined by a familiar face to Penguins fans. We'll get to that in a second, but also Nathan MacKinnon. So good for Sidney Crosby, playing some meaningful hockey as well before his season officially wraps up. He starts his summer training camp, but Crosby will play for Canada at the Men's Worlds, which is good news for Penguins fans. And this will mark Sidney Crosby's third time representing Team Canada at the World Championship and his first since he captained the team to gold in 2015. So obviously, the 2 years after that, Sidney Crosby was pretty busy. He couldn't make it to the World Championships because he was busy winning Stanley Cups, back-to-back Stanley Cups for your Pittsburgh Penguins. But the one thing that is awesome, unique, whatever you want to call it, about this year's World Hockey Championships is Sidney Crosby is being joined by former teammate Marc-Andre Fleury, who has retired from the NHL, but not retired from hockey yet. He is going to be joining Sidney Crosby at this year's World Hockey Championships, which is just one of the best stories in hockey right now. I mean, unbelievable. You couldn't write it any better. Flower is not done. Breaking news from his agent, Alan Walsh. Marc-Andre Fleury has accepted an invitation to go play for Team Canada at the World Championships, and Flower reunites with Sidney Crosby on Team Canada. I mean, this is absolutely electric. I don't care what anyone says. This is one of the best things, one of the best stories I've seen in hockey right now. And Marc-Andre Fleury is headed to Sweden for the World Hockey Championships, where he will play with his captain, his former captain, current captain, Sidney Crosby, one final time, one last ride for the boys. So if you're a Penguins fan, this is must watch. I know it's Team Canada, but it is must watch to watch these two play together one last time, with Fleury assumingly going to be the starter of this team. I would assume that at this point. We don't know who, how the rest of the lineup will kind of fill out, and obviously it doesn't start for another 5 days still, so I don't imagine any of the second round series will be done by then. But I think that he could be the starter of this team, and it's fun. He gets to play with Sidney Crosby once again. And Marc-Andre Fleury, before we get into his career a little bit and then go on to the draft lottery, he did have some fun comments.
Yeah, after we lost that night, I was like, I'm done, But then a couple of days goes by, and I was like, yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Has there been a call, conversation?
Yeah. So,
okay.
yeah.
Sid's going.
Are you?
Yeah.
So are you doing it?
Yeah, I'll go too.
Wow. Holy crap.
So just no longer, right? I don't know. I went home. My kids were crazy. I was like, geez, I gotta keep playing again. No, they weren't not that bad. Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to say or not, but I guess it's
Too late.
Yeah, sorry if I wasn't. I'm excited to go. I've never played in the World Championship, and I haven't played with Sid in a while, obviously, right? So I think it'll be fun to go spend some time together and yell at him in practice a bit. Keep him honest in practice.
And we know, in Pittsburgh, Marc-Andre Fleury, always the jokester with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And again, continue to do the same thing even at this point in his career. So love those comments from Marc-Andre Fleury, and he gets to play with Sidney Crosby one last time. And in terms of Marc-Andre Fleury, I mean, we got to give him some type of send-off here on the channel because he's a Pittsburgh Penguins legend, has officially retired from the NHL. He has played his last game in the NHL. And, 21 seasons under his belt, 3-time Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins. You know, he was the first overall pick in the 2003 NHL draft. Like, never again will we see a goalie go that high, and for good reason. Marc-Andre Fleury went first overall. Obviously, again, 3-time Stanley Cup champion and all these accolades and, you know, Team Canada, all of that. So, he became Pittsburgh's #1 goaltender ahead of the 2005-2006 season and never really looked back, obviously winning multiple Stanley Cups and, you know, just being the absolute backbone of this team for so many seasons until he was ultimately, you know, kept unprotected in the first expansion draft there for the Vegas Golden Knights, which I think Penguins fans do not look back on that too fondly. But if you do want to catch these two in action, first game is coming up soon in about 5 days time, Slovakia versus Canada. And again, it's a pretty fun tournament. A lot of NHL players in this tournament as well. So if you want to check out these two in action one last time, check out this tournament. Again, pretty good hockey. But to move on a little bit, the draft lottery is tonight, and the Pittsburgh Penguins have a 5% chance at the first overall pick. Not great. They are slated to, you know, pick 9th right now. That would be where they kind of fall. And a lot of fans right now are saying that, you know, from Jesse as well, and a lot of fans are saying the same thing, that they don't want to use up all their luck this year. They would rather get first overall probably next year, maybe Gavin McKenna or something like that. But, you know, there's a lot of talent coming down the pipe for next year's draft as well. But, you know, I don't think fans would complain if they ended up getting first overall this year either. There's a lot of really, really good players this year. I mean, the top 5 is stacked this year. You're getting a first overall talent in the top 5 if you're picking top 5 this year. So it would be nice for the Penguins to kind of slip into that top 3 in the draft lottery. Again, they have a 5% chance of that first overall pick. So going to be very interesting to watch. I hope the Penguins stay at 9 tonight to defer every ounce of cosmic karma and look towards 2026. But again, should be interesting to watch tonight. Goes down tonight. We'll see if the Pittsburgh Penguins do end up in the top 3. Again, it would be nice if it was top 3. I don't think Penguins fans are, obviously you want the first overall pick, but at 9, you're still getting a very good player. So I think it's very exciting for Penguins fans tonight to keep an eye on that. One last thing before we wrap up here. Rickard Rakell, his birthday. So happy birthday to Rickard Rakell, a player who had a career year on the Pittsburgh Penguins. And, you know, couple that with Sidney Crosby feeling good, getting to play with Marc-Andre Fleury coming into next season. He's going to be feeling good. The Penguins are retooling on the fly. I think they're going to be busy in free agency. If they pick 9th, you're still getting a really good player. If you get into the top 3 or the first overall pick, now we're really talking. That's a player that can make an impact next season. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But let me know in the comments what you think about Sidney Crosby, you know, rejoining and, you know, partnering up again with Marc-Andre Fleury on Team Canada, becoming teammates again. Really great story. One of the best in hockey right now. I'm excited to see how that looks. And then, of course, let me know what you think about the draft lottery. It would be nice if the Pittsburgh Penguins got a top 3 pick for, you know, just to speed up the rebuild a little bit, or the retool a little bit. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.